Here we are. Here we go. It's 7 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock. That music always seems so low, Bell. I don't know why. I don't know why I let it bother me so much. It feels like it sets the show off on the wrong tone. I want robust groundswell of sound around me. Hey, I mean, pretend you're on the music station and you're playing that head-banging rock and roll rubbish. Do that for me. It's 7 minutes after the hour. Regardless of where the music is, I'm right here in the seat, in the captain's chair, ready to go for another 3 hours of what I hope to be talk radio excellence on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024. We have a mere 13 days to go before the election culminates on Election Day, which it's not really Election Day anymore, but more on that in a couple of minutes. Election Day, November 5th. Certainly, we hope you're at our election night watch party, which is coming up at the Wilson County Fairgrounds, the big agricultural center there. It is commonly referred to as the Tennessee Room because there's a huge map of Tennessee on the floor there. And we would love to see you. There's a lot of room for you. There will be drink. There will be food. The charge is absolutely nothing. And I am sad to report to you, we have been telling you, get your VIP tickets. They are available. What the VIP ticket would have gotten you would be preferred seating, a goodie bag from Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You also get a complimentary beverage of your choosing. You get all of the food you can handle. You don't have to worry about purchasing that. And all of those tickets are gone. I don't know why I talk about it because all of those tickets are gone. They have sold out. And we thank those of you who bought the VIP tickets. I would like to take full credit for that because the ticket sales, they were going along okay until I announced I was giving away my used Trump shoes. And at that point, the ticket sales spiked through the roof, sold out. So there you go, Bell. Everybody wants my used Trump shoes. Contrary to what you said that they would.
No, they absolutely want the shoes. They just don't want your stank in it.
I see, once again, you assume that my feet stink. And you assume incorrectly, sir.
No.
There are plenty of aspects of my personality and my being that stink. My feet are not one of them. Thank you very much. There's Bell K behind the glass, making sure that everything that happens on this radio show comes out of our speakers as good as humanly possible. We appreciate him. Ken Weaver's back in the newsroom, just delivered an award-winning newscast, and he's got another one coming at 12:30 and at 1 o'clock and at 1:30 and at 2 o'clock and at 2:30. Those times are hard until Matt Murphy goes off the rails, and then it gets a little squishy. But Ken is a pro, and he handles it like the professional that he is. You on the telephones, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Any moment you want to offer us your opinion on the matters of the day, you're invited to do that. You can also hit us up on the super text line at 615-737-9986. 8568 says, wait, what did Andy Ogles do? So we do the callback. It's kind of a miss a moment, miss a lot on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So at the beginning of the show, we remind you, if you happen to miss yesterday's show, portions of what you perhaps missed. And Bell chose my admission and my apology to Courtney Johnston. Not really an apology so much as an admission that I would do things differently had I to do it over again. Why? Well, because Andy Ogles has become non-present. He's just non-present in Middle Tennessee, and it's sad to say. And look, I understand that maybe he's at structured events that I'm unaware of. I am certain that his campaign or the people that manage the Andy Ogles home base, the field office, they are attempting to get him out as best they can, but I've not seen him. And that's just one man's opinion. I'm not hating on the guy. I'm not hating on Mark Green either. We talked about him yesterday, but I'm sad that our public servants are not doing more to serve the public in this time of election season with less than 2 weeks to go before Election Day. That's all. That's it. Once again, I'm not hating on the guy. I'm not bagging on the guy. I'm just telling you where I stand on all of this. I do not believe that Andy Ogles is in this for you. That is the conclusion that I have drawn from the 2+ years that I have known him. That I'm not casting aspersions other than to say that that's my opinion of the matter. And if you have a different opinion of the matter, I certainly respect that and appreciate that. Will Andy Ogles win re-election to the 5th Congressional District? Of course he will. Will he serve better than a Democrat? Of course he will. Will he vote better than a Democrat? Of course he will. Does that mean that I have an appreciation for the manner in which he acts as a public servant? No, I don't. I just don't. So that is that, and I hope that answers your question. So we've lots to get into. Obviously, we're going to focus like a laser beam for the last 2 weeks on the presidential election. I just don't know what to do with these good feelings. I am naturally a pessimist. I don't know how you feel about it. People are different. There are natural optimists in the audience. There are pessimists in the audience. There are some people that just, you would consider yourself a pragmatist, or maybe you would consider yourself somebody that just sees what is in front of them, a realist, if you will. I am a natural-born pessimist. I expect the worst, and I'm pleasantly surprised when the best happens. It is in my nature. I fight against it. I really do. I fight against my natural pessimism to try to see an America that I can believe in. And one of the reasons that I love what I do on a day-to-day basis, regardless of whether we're talking local or state politics, national or international matters, I love talking with you, first and foremost. I love interacting and interconnecting with the people of Tennessee and by extension, the people of the United States of America. But I also love the nature of our job, that we talk about a lot of bad things, but we talk about them with hope for the future. One of the reasons, and far be it from me to psychoanalyze this, because I'm not a pimple on the hiney of Rush Limbaugh. One of the reasons that Rush Limbaugh was so successful in what he did, one of the reasons that people loved him, not just conservatives, libertarians, and even some liberals, because regardless of how dark it might be, no matter how bleak the future might look, Rush Limbaugh had hope. And he had hope based on belief. It was not hope that was an admission of an inability to do anything about the circumstances that you find yourself in. I've often said that hope is a bad emotion because hope is an admission that you can't do anything about your particular circumstances, or you won't. Limbaugh presented hope in America because he believed in the people of the United States of America, not the government, not our elected officials, not the bureaucracy, obviously, the people. And I believe in the people too. And I have to fight my pessimism, and I overcome my pessimism by reminding myself that the people will decide this election. Our eyes are clear. Perhaps you duped us in 2020. And truly, what we are experiencing right now with 13 days to go before this election culminates on November 5th, truly what we're experiencing is an example of how much an outlier 2020 truly was. And how much the liberals used an international pandemic created by China to their own advantage. Without COVID, the economy would not have tanked. Without COVID, there would not have been chaos in America. Without COVID, Joe Biden would not have been able to run from his basement. Without COVID, there's no finger pointing and finger wagging at the Donald Trump administration. Without COVID, you would not have seen that dip in the economic circumstances in the United States of America. Without COVID, all of these things are so crystal clear 4 years out. And even then, they had to engage in less than desirable ways to get the vote out in order to achieve victory. And without COVID, they couldn't have done most of those things. Most of the things that concerned me at the time and that concern me today regarding voting practices in 2020 were all based on COVID. This robust mail-in balloting without checking of IDs, the post-dating of election materials and counting those post-dated materials as if they had been received on time, the ability to ballot harvest in major metropolitan areas, the likes of which we had never seen before, all of it based on COVID. And I was reminded last night, as I was doing some research for the show today, just how much COVID impacted that election. Donald Trump would be president of the United States of America without COVID, and I don't think that's a question. I don't think it's a question. Well, our eyes are clearly open to the reality of what Democrats are willing to do to win elections now. We saw what they were willing to do. And I trust, because I have people on the ground in Georgia. I know one person in Pennsylvania that's kind of a resource. Outside of that, I don't know a lot of people in Wisconsin. I don't know a lot of people in Michigan. But I trust, I have to. We all have to trust that these mechanisms are in place to prevent the cheating that we believe happened in 2020, to prevent the type of shenanigans that COVID allowed in 2020, and to see a fairly decided election in 2024. Have you noticed, by the way, and I noticed these things, these mainstream media networks, you know, the ones that are all in for Kamala Harris and the Democrat left, the socialist left, the ABC and CBS and NBC and MSNBC and CNBC and hashtag never CNN and New York Times and Washington Post and on 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 it goes. These mainstream legacy networks that aren't Fox and Newsmax and News Nation and a couple of others. About 3 months ago, a major talking point for these talking heads was election integrity. Will you tell us today, sir, that you will accept the results of the election on November 5th, 2024? Will you? Yes or no? Well, I mean, obviously, you've got to say, well, yes or no? Well, it's not a choice like that. You've got to make sure that the election is on the up and up. You won't accept the election results. You are a chaos person. You believe in overthrowing the government. And all of this garbage. They were demanding that Republican candidates accept an election result that had never happened before. Have you noticed we haven't heard very much about that lately? I wonder why that is. Because they see the same polls that you and I see. And better yet, they see internal polling data that I am told looks disastrous for Kamala Harris in the battleground states. And so these things do not act independent of one another. They're demanding that every Republican declare their acceptance of an election that hasn't happened yet, regardless of the circumstances surrounding that election, regardless of, you know, issues involving fraud or fraudulent voting or illegal aliens voting or people on the voting rolls that ought not to be there. Regardless of any of that, you have to accept it. Have you noticed they're not asking that question very much lately? Every single Democrat should be asked that question on every major network in America from now until Election Day. Will you accept? But you know why I believe that? Because I believe the Democrats are going to lose their absolute minds if we get the result that we want on Election Day. I think they're going to lose their minds to the point that, God forbid, they take to the streets and start burning crap down. Now, I don't want that to happen, and I'm not calling for that to happen. No matter what happens on November 5th, I'm not calling for that to happen. But I'm sad to report to you that they're getting ready for it. You don't think Antifa is ready to burn crap down? We better be ready to respond in a forceful and lawful manner through our appropriate law enforcement agencies. But every Democrat, from Kamala Harris to Tim Walz to, Joe Biden, if he can find his butt with a compass and a flashlight and get to a television camera, every single one of them, will you accept the results of the election November 5th, 2024? Yes or no? Yes or no? I don't do well with the level of excitement that I'm feeling right now, but we have to finish the drill. We have to run through the tape and any other cliche involving making sure that you do everything in your power to get to a successful conclusion at the end of this race.
You, sir, will be happy and you will like it.
I know. I don't like it. I don't care for it, and I don't know what to do with it. Maybe you guys do. 615-737-9986. We're going to talk the presidential election, obviously, and the desperation that's setting in. Hey, guys. Hey, Democrats. I got an idea. I got a great idea. All you Democrats, come here. Let's call him Hitler. See if that works. That's what we're left with.
Literally Hitler.
That's
literally Hitler.
He's literally Hitler. When did Hitler die and when was Trump born? Reincarnation much? That's what they're left with. That is the example of desperation that we'll continue with in a moment. It's 22 after the hour on Super Talk. Did you know that you're funding America's future through, your personal engagements, through your financial engagements? And sometimes it's not the future that you want for you and your kids. If you have a credit card, know this. Most major credit card companies sadly funnel millions of dollars to liberal causes, to woke agendas, to woke candidates, hoping that you don't notice. Well, we have noticed. Take a stand and get the woke out of your wallet. Coin is the conservative's credit card. You earn cash back while advancing a conservative future and conservative causes. Apply now at coin.com. Spell it correctly now. COIGN.com. That's COIGN.com. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details. I forgot to do the show title. I was thinking about that when I was thinking about the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch component of what we do on a daily basis, because I was going to remind you, if you watch me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, then you see the luxurious locks that I've been growing for some time now, 235 days, as a matter of fact. I would not be able to do this without my friends at PAI Medical, the We Grow Hair people. I'm getting an FDA-approved laser treatment that makes my hair thicker and fuller and prevents hair loss. I was getting a little bit of a thinning on the crown of my head. I really don't get those widow's peak type. I don't have that situation going on in the front of my head, and I'm blessed that I still have hair at the age of 51. But the bottom line is this: I want to make sure that I keep it because my head's lumpy, and the last thing we need to see is my bald head. So I went to PAI Medical. Now, whether you're just beginning to lose your hair or if you've been losing it for a time, they can help you. If it is the FDA-approved laser treatments, non-invasive laser treatments, they can do that. They also have incredible trademark procedures like the multi-unit hair grafting procedure and the ARTIS robotic FUE hair transplant procedure, where results are guaranteed. Friends, don't suffer hair loss in silence. Let's do something about this. Let's go to We Grow Hair. Go to WeGrowHair.com or call 615-376-6010, 376-6010.
Here, a terrorist attack in Turkey. I've got it for you coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, Mr. Ken Weaver. How are you? I haven't had an opportunity to speak to you publicly today.
Doing all right, Brother Murphy.
You doing all right?
I am. I am indeed. Doing real good. Well, halfway through the week, brother.
Oh.
Halfway through it.
Holy moly. It's
well, no,
flying
wait a
by.
minute. I guess I need to wait until I'm home.
1:30. 1:30.
Yeah, when I get home, we'll be halfway through the week.
Actually, my halfway is 1:30 today. I think your halfway is more like, what, 3:30, something like that?
Well, I always
Officially?
no, I always say it's whenever I get home.
Need to
because I've got to survive I-24.
Well, good luck with that, my friend. You're back at home base on election night, right? You're here in the newsroom?
I am right here in this room, right here, as they say.
Well, I mean, I hate it for you that you won't get to see all the folks out in not Murfreesboro, Wilson County in Lebanon. But I'm glad that you're here helping facilitate all of the numbers that are coming in statewide, nationwide. Should be a big night.
Going to have a lot of numbers. I mean, we got this transit tax right here in Nashville.
Well, that's true.
Are you just going to do a 12-hour shift?
No, I don't. I hope not.
Well,
we're all. I think what Kid Weaver's indicating is that all of us, the entire America-loving country, is hoping for an early night.
Yeah, I mean, Brother Brian Wilson is very optimistic that we may know something by midnight. That this thing's going to look, it's going to look like we're going to know who the winner might be.
New Suit told me we were going to at least 11.
Oh well, yeah, I guess I will be here for about 12 hours. Then.
Yeah. So sure, I would expect that if you don't have problems and you get Georgia, North Carolina, both are on Eastern time zone, and then Pennsylvania. I mean, that's what it is all about, right?
Right.
When Pennsylvania happens, if Pennsylvania is declared for Trump, I think the rest of the evening is a celebration for Trump supporters. Because if Trump gets Pennsylvania, I don't see a way that she cobbles. I mean, she would have to cobble Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada. I mean, and I don't even think that gets her to the finish line. I think Pennsylvania, everything, I mean, I hate to say it this way. I don't mean to oversimplify it, but everything's about Pennsylvania.
Well,
everything's about
and it seems to be, based on the campaigns. Because, they are, they're every cycle they're in the battleground states. But, boy, they are really in Pennsylvania this time around.
I mean, I tell you what, and Trump is wearing it out, and he wore her out. I have the audio yesterday when he declared, what is she doing? Is the woman taking a day off? We got 14 days left, and she's taking the day? Man, oh, man. I've got that audio for you coming up in just a moment. By the way, I have the numbers, Bell. So the big liberal push is now, hey, let's call him Hitler and see what happens.
Literally Hitler.
Right. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
He's literally Hitler. Because they haven't tried this one before. So you got Mark Kelly out there. Oh, he loves Hitler. He absolutely adores Hitler. He's like Hitler reincarnate, which got me to thinking. I don't mean to give these liberals any ideas, but you know when Donald Trump was born?
It's 45, wasn't it?
It's 46.
46.
June 14th of 1946. Adolf Hitler, it's reported, was killed himself April 30th of 1945.
So if you include the processing time for the soul, that could be, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is that, I mean, so May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. That takes us to January. So June, if you back it up, yeah, if there's a 3-month processing time for Satan to figure out where his evil doer will go next, I mean, there you go.
Yeah, but then you've got the problem that I've been credibly told that Trump has no soul.
Well, that's true.
Maybe I'm just very confused.
Maybe he sold it to the devil. Maybe that could be next. Donald Trump, I have it on good authority, sold his soul to the devil.
For power.
Well, I wasn't doing nothing with it.
You want to know the title?
Oh, yeah. Episode 678 is in progress, and it's entitled?
Matt Murphy, military fan. Ask him who his favorite colonel is.
Weaver, you got to watch that bit.
I will, man.
You got to watch that bit. Bell heard us talking about it and watched it. You got to watch that bit. Yeah, almost 31 after the hour. It's time for news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 5 minutes and incredible images coming in from an attack on an aerospace facility in Turkey's capital, Ankara. Explosions, then you're going to hear some gunfire. Marcus Moore says at least 4 people died, 14 injured.
We know from authorities that 2 attackers, they said, were neutralized in this. And in the videos that we have seen, it appears to be a man and a woman approaching that facility, this aerospace facility, around 4 p.m. local time, and opening fire.
Yeah, the facility makes and designs both military and civilian aircraft. Here in Middle Tennessee, Channel 4 says it has learned that it was a Blackman High School student killed in that crash in Murfreesboro yesterday. 2 other teens were hurt. This was on Veterans Parkway, just south of Highway 96. The students were returning to Blackman after a volleyball tournament at Rockville High School. Here in Middle Tennessee, law enforcement says they're going to conduct more safety initiatives at school, like the one today in Nolensville.
That's what we're hoping this community engagement would do, is raise awareness and give people a better understanding. We're just trying to make this town as safe as we could possibly make it, and this is an issue that we noticed, so we're trying to raise awareness and make sure everybody understands.
Yeah, the 1,500 pedestrian-related crashes in Tennessee this year, 120 of them have resulted in fatality. Wilson County schools and local police working together to watch for problems in their school zones. The sheriff's office says more drivers seem to not be stopping for school buses, and it's becoming an issue, especially on Highway 109.
Most of 109 is not a divided highway, so some people don't realize that they have to stop in both directions. So that's kind of our intent for this morning, is to maybe find some people that don't know that and educate them and make sure that they know from now on that they can't do that.
Now, Channel 4 says that was a deputy who was invited to ride along on a school bus to see him for himself. At least one driver was pulled over this morning there in Wilson County. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
For the entire month of October, our friends at Kraft Body Scan are running a very special birthday celebration. They are celebrating their 7th year in existence. And to celebrate that anniversary, or birthday, if you will, they're giving you the gift, $700 off their full body scans. What a great opportunity, friends, not just for the huge savings, but to see your health clearly through CT scan technology. I've done this, and I absolutely 100% recommend it. It is so wonderful. Not only do you make sure that everything's going as it should within your body, not only would you catch any issues very, very early, even before you're symptomatic, but it also gives you wonderful peace of mind. I can't tell you. You know, I talked to the radiologist. I got a call, and then I got the results in the email format. That's the one that I picked, an email format. I absolutely love it because now I know my chest is all good. My heart is good. Lungs, good. Bone density, everything going well. The stomach area, the intestine area, everything looks good. Pelvis. All of it gets checked with a full body scan. Your health is worth seeing clearly. And right now you can see it for $700 less than you normally would. CraftBodyScan.com or 615-436-1000. Tell them Murphy sent you. 615-436-1000. Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy. U.S. Pest is on my mind because, just because it's getting a little cooler outside doesn't mean that it does not continue to be bug and pest season. I know the mosquitoes have gone back to straight to hell because that's what they do during the off season. And I understand that ticks and fleas may be down a little bit in your yard, but these invasive pests, the roaches and the mice and the rodents that are attempting to get into your home right now to burrow in to make sure they have a warm place to live this winter, we need to eliminate those pests. And you do that through J.K. and Erica Brister and U.S. Pest. J.K. and Erica are great Americans, and they don't like a bug because the bugs are little communist, right? They come into your home, they want to take what's yours and use it for their own purposes. We stop that at U.S. Pest. Full-service pest control all year long, termite protection all year long, 100% money-back guarantee there, plus crawl space service to make sure that everything is A-OK in your crawl space when it comes to bugs, creepy crawlies, and the rest. It is time to get the right type of service when it comes to pest. U.S. Pest. If you're using the other guys, might I humbly suggest you're doing it wrong. USPest.com or 590-1260. 590-1260. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy Show. It is almost, it's about 39 after the hour, and we'll get to your telephone calls momentarily. Rob is in Columbia, wants to talk about Congressman Andy Ogles. We can do that in a moment, Rob. Craig is there talking voting lines, but right now we turn our attention to the Murphy Show hotline, where Representative David Kustoff joins us from the 8th Congressional District. He is on the line with us to talk about Election Day that comes up in 13 days, the excitement across the state of Tennessee, and many, many other things. Congressman, good afternoon. Welcome in.
Hey, Matt, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I've been on a bus in East Tennessee for the last couple of days with Speaker Cameron Sexton on the Donald Trump, Senator Marshall Blackburn, Governor Bill Lee bus, and there is a lot of excitement out there. There's no doubt about it in Tennessee and across the country.
Well, no question. You mentioned East Tennessee. Have you all hit any of the areas that were hit by Hurricane Helene? Have you been able to talk to some of those folks, and how's everybody doing?
So Matt, we actually started in Knox County, and I think out of respect, we all know what's going on in East Tennessee and the damage that they've suffered and continue to suffer.
Sure.
So we started a little bit west of there. We started in Knox County.
Makes sense, yeah.
And we continue to monitor the entire congressional delegation, both senators rather, and all the congressmen continue to work with Governor Lee and the White House and the rest of the federal government to make sure that East Tennessee will have the resources that they will need. And as you know, and everybody listening knows, it's going to take a long time. It is just going to take a long time.
Right. No question about it. What's the word from the people that you're talking with on this bus tour? Tell me the nature of the tour, right? Just to get the word out, to talk to Tennesseans about their values and what they hope to see happening on November 5th. Just give me a lay of the land there, David.
Well, it really is. It's turnout number one for President Trump, for Senator Blackburn, for the congressmen, for all the state legislative candidates. And it is important because when you look at the turnout now, we're actually, believe it or not, even with all the excitement in Tennessee, we're down early voting wise compared to where we were at this same point in 2020. We're ahead of where we were in 2016. We're down from 2020, and I just looked at the latest results from the Tennessee Secretary of State's office. Statewide, we're down about 9%. So I think we all know we're in a red state. The counties that we visited are red. The congressional district that I represent is red. But you know this, we can't take anything for granted, and we can't be complacent, because if you ever do that, then you're setting yourself up to fail.
Mm-hmm. No question. Well, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show, David, that I don't do well feeling this good this far out, but I do feel good about what America is going to say loudly and clearly on Election Day, November 5th, with regard to the presidential election. What's your feeling? What's your gut telling you?
So it's good, and in politics, everything is about timing and momentum, or at least a lot of it is. And,
sure.
I thought about this a lot, and I'll get to the punchline in a moment, but, we all remember at the end of June, President Trump debates Biden. Biden collapses figuratively on stage. Trump mops him up, and we're all feeling great. And then a few weeks later, President Trump is shot and survives. And then a few days after that, we go into that great convention in Milwaukee, that great Republican National Convention. We have this momentum. A couple of days later, Biden's out, Harris is in. Nationally, momentum may be swinging, but it's back with Trump right now. And so I do what a lot of people are doing. You look at where we are nationwide. There are 7 states that matter, that are undecided: Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. And so I would tell everybody exactly what I'm doing right now. Don't pay attention to any more polls. It doesn't. At this point, it doesn't matter. I don't think there are any undecideds left. I think everybody knows what they're going to do one way or the other. And what you got to do is you got to make sure that the people who are going to vote for you in Georgia, in North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan, that they go out and vote. And I know I just said don't look at the polls. I will say that the Cook Political Report, which is supposed to be nonpartisan, what have you, they've taken 2 Senate races, Michigan and Pennsylvania, and they've moved them from lean Democrat to toss-up. And that tells you something about the top of the ticket.
You know, and we're talking with Congressman David Kustoff of the 8th Congressional District. He's not in a blue district, but he's blue district adjacent. I'm going to get more to that in a moment. But we need more of you and less of Cohen, but that's another story. So you mentioned this. I said last night on social media, on my social media platform, anybody else get the feeling that the results, or at least the way that people are going to vote, it's pretty baked in? I don't know who is planning on voting on November 5th or before early voting and haven't really decided for whom they're going to vote. It's all about, at this stage, and many elections are, we could say this probably about just every election in our lifetimes, David, but it's all about getting people motivated to get to the polls. And I just feel like conservatives, Republicans alike, they're more motivated to see America back on track again.
Well, that's why we cannot let our foot off the pedal. I mean, we just got to continue to do what we're doing. That bus tour that I was telling you about, it started in Knox County. It's going to work its way west back to me. So all of next week we'll be in West Tennessee. The bus actually hits Middle Tennessee today for about 4 days, I think, through Saturdays. It visits different counties with some of the different elected officials on the bus. That's an example of Tennessee. But to your point, if you take for fact, for lack of a better word, what I say about those 7 states, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, that means that right now, if you accept that as fact, play along with me, Harris has 226 electoral votes. Trump has 219. It takes 270 to win. So I would argue that Georgia is going to go for Trump. And if I'm right, that's 16 electoral votes. I think that North Carolina, as long as our party continues to do what we do, that goes for Trump. That's got 16 electoral votes. And to me, the ball game, whether you're Trump, Harris, it is all Pennsylvania. And if you look at where the campaigns are focusing with Trump and Harris and Vance and Waltz and everybody else who's coming in, they're all in Pennsylvania. And if with those 19 electoral votes, when Donald Trump gets that would put him exactly at 270 electoral votes, notwithstanding Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona.
David, who all is you mentioned Senator Blackburn, you mentioned Cameron Sexton, and I know they're kind of the founders of the feast there. Who all have you seen on the bus? So
there have been people on and off the bus. In addition to Speaker Sexton, we've had Lieutenant Governor McNally. I know that Senator Blackburn is planning to be on the bus over the next week and a half or so. I think that Governor Lee will be on the bus at some point in time. Congressman John Rose has been on the bus. We've had a number of other state senators and state house members who have been on the bus. And I think that's I think that's really good. And what I didn't say was the crowds Monday and Tuesday at those early stops have been really good. Whether you're talking about 8 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, and to me that's really encouraging. And to pull up like we did yesterday in Hamilton County at Little Debbie Park, there's an early voting site, and people have been standing there waiting in line to vote for an hour.
Oh, wow. No, that's great stuff. I just got a super text while we were talking, and I want you to respond to this, David, because I've made my feelings known about it. Look, I don't like the way we vote nowadays. I mean, if I were king of the world, I would change our voting policies, at least for presidential elections nationwide, maybe make it a 72-hour period. I would do different things, but I don't make the rules, right? And someone said, I don't want to vote early because I don't want people to know how the votes are going because I don't want to give the other side a chance to cheat. I'm sure you've heard this before. A lot of conservatives like the way we used to do it, and I've seen progress in that regard. I think we need to progress. I think we need to embrace the voting rules as they exist in our state and in our country more so than we have in the past in order to make sure that we don't lose votes because people aren't able to make it to the polls on Election Day or for whatever reason. Well, how do you respond if a constituent says to you, I don't like to vote early?
Well, I think about a story that Governor Haslam told that one of his elections when he had gone door knocking in Knoxville, and he met an elderly couple before the election, and then after the election he ran into the older woman, and she said, I just want you to know that Tom did pass away. And Bill Haslam says, well, I'm really sorry about that. And she responds, she says, well, it was okay. He got his vote in early before he died on Election Day. And I think about that. There are reasons that people want to go vote early for health reasons because they don't want to stand in line on Election Day. And the fact of the matter is, every state has their own election rules. And I truly think that the federal government should not get involved with the state. They should vote however they want to.
Sure.
I will say that this is a little bit different from what you just said. I do have a problem, though, with a number of these states that report late and they continue to count votes after Election Day. Because I would say to whoever called in or texted in, I bet that they don't have any doubt that their vote is counted accurately in Tennessee. The people in my district don't. They know that their votes are going to be counted fairly. Our local election commissions do a good job. The Secretary of State does a good job. But, and I read an article a couple of days ago that the Fox News election desk chief guessed that Fox News may not be able to call the presidential election until Saturday. And I think that's just wrong.
I do too. Yes.
Maybe there should be a rule or a law that says in federal races, presidential races, what have you, that all the votes need to be in by Election Day, 5 p.m. at Election Day, 7, whenever the polls close, and they need to be counted that day. I mean, that's a little bit different twist on what
and I understand that we're a nation that is growing every day, every year, every election cycle, but and I don't mean to be this guy, but David, I think you know where I'm going here. When I was a kid, we voted, they hand counted the votes or they processed them in some fashion through machines, and we had the results at 11:30 that night. I mean, how hard is it?
You're right.
Right.
You can buy a lottery ticket down at the gas station, and you're going to know by 12:01 a.m. whether you won or not. So I think that's right. I think you can have the best of both worlds. And the fact of the matter is, once you give something to somebody, I've learned this in the federal government, it's hard to take it away. And maybe early voting lasts too long. It does last a long time. It's 2 weeks. So anybody that wants to vote has the opportunity to vote. And I think ultimately it's a matter for our state legislature and every state legislature what the period is that people vote in.
Our guest, Congressman David Kustoff, on the bus, traveling around the state of Tennessee with other notable figures. I will lower the class level of that bus this Friday considerably, David, when I step on the bus. So maybe I'll see you.
You'll be a welcome addition. And when it comes to West Tennessee, we're an area that flipped red 15 years ago or so, and flipped pretty hard red. So we're pretty bright red and pretty conservative, but we don't want to take things for granted. So we've got some people who became Republicans 10 and 12 and 15 years ago and 20 years ago, and they believe what they didn't grow up with it falling through the veins. They converted, and they're pretty strong. But we want to make sure that everybody turns out, and we want a good, strong showing in Tennessee for Donald Trump and Marsha Blackburn.
It sounds great. David, I hope to get to see you. And I know how you political figures get during this time of year, trying to get that last push out there. So I'm leaving my wallet at home.
Do that, but you can enjoy a donut on the bus.
Sounds good. Thank you, David, for the time.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, there's Representative David Kustoff joining us. It's 54 after the hour on Super Talk. Friends, if you're looking to safeguard your valuables, maybe safeguard your wallet around politicians, there's a way to do that through Safe House. Nashville Safe House is the premier safe store in the city of Nashville, in the state of Tennessee, in the Southeast, and I would say in the United States of America. I've never seen anything like it. Mark and the Safe House team, they have a lot of safes in stock. As a matter of fact, it's his commitment that he has the right one for you, no matter what your taste, no matter what you're looking for, whether it's a jewelry safe, a corporate safe, a gun safe. And remember, gun safes are sales tax free at the Safe House. They offer professional and discreet delivery and installation by their own specialty crews trained by the Safe House itself. They don't do this third-party deal like some others do, because those people are letting unknowns, randos in your house. Do you really want a rando in your house that knows the combination to your safe? I don't think so. Let's get with the Safe House, and let's make this happen, and let's feel more safe and comfortable tonight. NashvilleSafehouse.com. That's NashvilleSafehouse.com. Or on the road, 4th Avenue South, across from City Cemetery, it's Nashville Safe House.
1 o'clock on the dot this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. And right now in Middle Tennessee, Murfreesboro police are trying to determine what caused a crash yesterday. It killed a 14-year-old, injured 3 other people. Channel 4's Lydia Fielder with the latest.
This was at the intersection of Veterans Parkway and Kingdom Drive. Police say 3 teenagers, 2 14-year-olds and a 16-year-old driver in a sedan, collided with a 47-year-old driving an SUV. They say the SUV driver was trying to turn left onto Veterans Parkway, right into the path of the sedan. Those cars collided. Both were badly damaged. The teens are Blackman High School students, Murfreesboro police say, and were coming back to school after going to that state volleyball tournament at Rockvale High School. The 16-year-old driver, 14-year-old backseat passenger, and SUV driver were all taken to the hospital. They are expected to survive their injuries.
Yeah, the other 14-year-old did not survive, and police are trying to determine if excessive speed played a role. Well, the CDC and McDonald's urgently working to track down the source of an E. coli outbreak coming from something in the company's burgers. 1 person's died, dozens have gotten sick. Here's Alex Stone.
With McDonald's customers in 10 states getting sick with E. coli after eating Quarter Pounders, a company is now trying to pinpoint the source of the illnesses. Company executives say they believe it's slivered onions used on Quarter Pounders, but they aren't sure yet. They're looking at the beef, but don't believe the E. coli is coming from the meat. The company is no longer selling Quarter Pounders in areas where people have gotten sick.
Now, Tennessee and Kentucky not among the states where people have gotten sick. And in East Tennessee, a 13-year-old girl found dead in Knoxville, and a 15-year-old boy is charged with second-degree murder in her death. Here's the Knox County Sheriff on WVLT.
But these detectives that are standing here beside me and behind me, I'm very thankful for the job that they've done very diligently, making sure that they've covered everything that they can, going out, following up on leads to make sure that we can find some kind of closure, not only to this case, but most of all to the family.
Now, the sheriff says the body was found on a walking trail popular with kids and parents in the Powell area. Election 2024, Vice President Kamala Harris made a short address from her home in Washington, D.C. today to respond to the report in the New York Times where former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly claims Trump would speak highly of Adolf Hitler.
We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want?
The Trump campaign has responded to the New York Times report, which included audio recordings of Kelly. Trump Communications Director Stephen Chung calling the Kelly story a fabrication and says he has beclowned himself. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
You know, you don't have to wait until Election Day to take your country back in certain ways. What about financial independence from those woke companies that want to give money to liberal causes? Well, you get in the fight right now with Coin. It's the conservatives' credit card. Instead of funneling millions of dollars to the left like so many others of these credit cards, Coin advances conservative values and believes in conservative charity. Earn cash back while fighting back. Apply now at coin.com. Let's spell it correctly now. Listen close. COIG. N.com. That's coin.com, CIOIGN.com. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details. All right, let's go. Let's get it on. Hour number 2 of the Matt Murphy Show starts right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Your telephone calls upcoming, 615-737-9986. How you feeling with 13 days to go? Big presidential contest. Don't know if you've heard. Also, don't know if you've heard, the Democrats have run out of ideas as to how to attack Donald Trump. And so they're reverting back to the old song and dance. It's an old, worn-out page out of the playbook. Just call him Hitler. That will work. It worked in 2016. Oh, wait, it didn't. It worked in 2020. No, that was COVID. It'll work now. Just call him the devil. Why don't they just go ahead and call him Satan? Seriously. I mean, what else is left for these people? Here's the trouble that they have with this Hitler nonsense. And I'm going to get into what Kamala Harris had to say today at the Naval Observatory, her residence, in just a moment. John Kelly is out. It is a coordinated effort to attack Donald Trump in a October surprise style fashion, and it will not work because we've heard all of this garbage before. John Kelly hates Donald Trump, and John Kelly is out. You know, oh, he praised Adolf Hitler and he did this and he did that. I mean, does anybody believe any of this stuff? And he called an American service person a bleeping Mexican and all of this other nonsense. I want to rise to about 100,000 feet and look at it from that level, and then we'll get down to where the goats can graze on it. The American people are suffering. Businesses have closed. Lives have been dramatically impacted by the amount of inflation that we see at the grocery store on a day-to-day basis. The amount of money that we're spending on basic necessities like fuel or electricity or groceries themselves, rent, our mortgage payments. We need a leader that can get us back from an economic standpoint to the greatness that we saw in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 pre-COVID. And who was president back then? Which leads me to point number 2. The problem with declaring that Donald Trump is a fascist, a dictator, is that Donald Trump was president once before. I guess I can understand how this would work in 2016, where you would declare, oh, he doesn't really believe in American politics. He's going to take over. He'll never relinquish power. He did relinquish power. Oh, but he didn't want to, but he did. And there's nothing suggesting that he won't do the same thing after 4 years of his second term. Nothing. All of this is just name calling, and it means nothing. I don't know what they mean when they call him a fascist. In what fashion has he acted in a fascist way? What did he do as president of the United States that would indicate fascism? I mean, I'm asking sincerely. Can anyone think of anything that Donald Trump did as president of the United States of America that would lead liberals to call him a fascist today? So John Kelly writes an op-ed for the New York Times. The Atlantic drops a piece where Donald Trump, quote, praises Hitler. John Kelly tells the New York Times that Trump is a fascist, whatever that means. And not 24 hours later, here's Kamala Harris declaring her concern over Donald Trump's mental health in front of her residence at the U.S. Naval Observatory in Washington, D.C. It is a coordinated effort to attack Trump because that's all they have. Let's remind ourselves of why we are here. And you know what? I could just observe this with some sort of detached amusement. Sadly, I think they're trying to reach stupid people that aren't paying that much attention to the political atmosphere right now, the lay of the land. And they don't have anything else. And that's the incredible thing. Can you tell me one plan that Kamala Harris has that she's not lifted from Donald Trump? Oh, wait, price gouging. Okay. So Kamala Harris wants price controls. Kamala Harris believes it's the government's job to tell private enterprise what they may or may not charge for their goods or services. That doesn't seem very American. Next. Anything else? What are you campaigning on with regard to your policy and your position on the issues? Kamala Harris can't even say what she would do differently than Joe Biden. She has yet to give the answer. And the latest answer that she gave was the worst one yet. I have the clip somewhere in my bag of tricks. I'll pull it out here in a moment once I find it. Where Kamala Harris is talking to a local reporter the other day in Pennsylvania. And the reporter says, you know, what would you do different? And she says her latest answer to this question is, vice presidents don't criticize their presidents. What? That was her answer. I'll find the clip for you. Don't worry. What would you do differently? Vice presidents don't, and Mike Pence didn't do that, and I'm not going to do it either. So your answer to what you would do differently than Joe Biden is, first you said, well, I'm not Joe Biden. What are you laughing about, lady? That was your first answer. And then you're like, well, I can't think of anything. You said that to The View. And then you went back to the first answer and you said, well, first off, I'm not Joe Biden. And secondly, I'm not Donald Trump either. And then you went into attacking Donald Trump. And then finally you get to an answer that you feel comfortable with where you say, well, just like Mike Pence before me, so you're comparing yourself to Mike Pence, vice presidents don't criticize their presidents. Well, ma'am, I don't know that you're listening to the question I'm asking. I didn't ask you to criticize Joe Biden. We asked you what you would do differently than Joe Biden as president of the United States. And looking back, what things you might have done differently over the last 3.5 years, were you president at the time? It is a perfectly legitimate question for someone that is suggesting that we turn the page. Turn the page. They don't know what the hell they're doing. It's amateur hour. And it starts and ends with Kamala Harris. She's just, forget politics, forget political ideology, forget what you think you are, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. This woman is awful at this. Just awful. And it's because she doesn't have an original thought in her brain. I take no pleasure in saying that. Give me an original idea. Sit down and rationally discuss issues without reverting to talking points or without looking like a deer in the headlights as if some reporter has caught you with a gotcha question when it's a question about basic immigration policy, when it's a question about basic economic policy or basic foreign policy, and you're like, oh, well, what do I say? Stump speech, stump speech. This was earlier today so what they have, they want this discussion. I hesitate even bringing it up. I hesitate even talking about it. It's what they want. They don't have any other discussion points to make. They cannot beat Trump on the economy. They cannot beat him on border security. They can't beat him on personal security due to a lack of border security. They can't beat him on foreign entanglements. They can't beat him on energy policy. They can't beat him on any of the major issues impacting the United States of America. So what do? They attack him. Ad hominem attacks. On what? That some anonymous person said that he said effing Mexican at a funeral? Let me ask you this. Why are they anonymous? If you want to elevate yourself amongst the D.C. bureaucracy, if you want to showcase yourself amongst the media elites, attack Trump. There is zero danger in attacking Trump. Zero. Why wouldn't you put your name on it? On condition of anonymity, a source tells The Atlantic that at one point at a funeral, unnamed, Donald Trump said, effing Mexican. Seriously? After all this time, after 8 years, y'all think about this for a moment. It's enough to make you fall over. After 8 years, we're back to Billy Bush. After 8 years, all they've got is grab her by the bleep. That's all they've got. It didn't work in 2016, and it's not going to work in 2024 either.
You notice how they took the Republicans' talking points about Biden. He's old, he's feeble, he's got dementia, and now they're trying to repurpose them with Trump.
I mean, it's pathetic. It's pathetic.
It's like shows a complete lack of originality.
Look, what the Democrats have done, they knew Biden was out of it. They've known for a long time. She can't answer that question either. She can't have it both ways. She was asked by this NBC reporter the other day, hey, when did you know that this dude was out of it? And she was like, no, Joe Biden's awesome. Joe Biden's great. Well, then why are you running? You cannot have it both ways. You cannot play with the common sense of the United States of America. You cannot play this game with them and expect to win. So this stone-cold lion you-know-what looks the American people in the face. And in answer to the question, when did you know that Joe Biden had lost it? She's like, Joe Biden hasn't lost it. Joe Biden's great. Joe Biden's tip-top. Well, then why is he not the candidate? You'll have to ask him. He's A-OK. So you either admit that you saw it, you admit that you knew it, and you were lying 2 weeks before he stepped out of the race after the disastrous debate. So you were a liar then, or you're a liar now. Either way, we know you're lying. We know you're lying. Just listen to it.
Can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time?
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
And you never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates. He is absolutely.
But that's the reason why you're here, and he's not running.
Okay, one, I love that the mainstream media, even the left of center mainstream media like NBC News, I mean, they're like, why? The reason you're here is because he couldn't perform. What are you talking about, lady?
For the top of the ticket.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
What do you think?
I am running for president of the United States.
What do you think? I'm running for president of the United States. So why did he drop out but not for cognitive decline? Well, you'll have to ask him. Why? What do you think? I'm running for president of the United States. Well, that's the point, lady. They just think you're stupid, man. They think you're dumb. Rob, I promised you I'd get to you, and I've rambled on. Rosalind will get to you as well. Rob, hang in there. I'm getting right to you. You've waited for a long time to talk about Andy Ogles, and I want to give you the opportunity to do so next on Super Talk. Maybe you need a second opinion about something that you've been told from another company. Maybe you're concerned about your heater. Maybe it's just a checkup. For whatever reason, I encourage you to call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Give yourself peace of mind with a maintenance call from Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. The best way to head off costly repairs, breakdowns, or even more expensive early replacement is to get that maintenance done. And Jeff Eddy understands this, which is why he's offering that $125 guarantee. He will never charge you over that, no matter how many heating units you might have on your residential property. That's all you're going to pay. And oftentimes, it's substantially less than that. Now, at some point, you have to replace. And when you do, they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They're ready to help you in that regard. Financing available for your next unit as well. EfficientHVAC.net, EfficientHVAC.net, or 615-784-4424. Again, 615-784-4424. For our friend Jeff Eddy. If your heater's not ready, call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling.
State Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti says a lawsuit has uncovered proof through documentation. Thousands of illegal immigrants with dangerous criminal records are going to be released in Tennessee. We'll tell you about it at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm going to focus on a local election that's happening right here in Middle Tennessee in the Nashville area coming up in about 10 minutes or so on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'll introduce you to a candidate for State Senate District number 20. Very exciting. He's coming up in studio in just a couple of minutes. Plus, our good friend Cameron Smith in the 2 o'clock hour in his normal place. As promised on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, good afternoon, welcome. Rob has been holding for a long, long time. And Rob, I apologize for your wait. I owe you a bottle of water and an ink pen used by me. Hello, Rob.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great, Rob. I hope you are.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great.
Good. So, two things really. Actually, I had just finished voting in Columbia, and it was easy. Went in. I was there 15, 20 minutes, did the early voting thing. And then when I come out to the car, I guess I heard one of your advertisements, but it involved Andy Ogles, where he hadn't really been there for us as far as what he should be doing as far as the state of Tennessee. And I wasn't aware of that, but still I agree with you in the fact that he will support us and represent us much better than any Democrat that could possibly be on the ticket.
Sure.
But what I really was getting to was that so as soon as I walked up, got into the line, the first thing that was mentioned was, do you think they'll let you vote wearing that? And I posted a picture on the Super Talk Messenger app of me wearing my MAGA shirt and my sticker that I just voted. And I'm like, well, I hope that they do. I said, this is America, and we do have free speech. Why would they not? And it's like, well, I just don't know if they'll let you vote wearing that shirt. And I said, well, we're about to find out. So I go in, and actually I'm going through the line. Everybody was very polite. And I get up there, and one of the women that was signing me in she did mention the shirt. And I'm like, well, I didn't know that it was a requirement not to wear anything that would endorse or indicate which way you were voting. She said, well, you're welcome to wear it, anytime, but just not when you're voting. Have you heard anything about this?
Yes, sir. That is a rule that there's no campaigning at the voting place. And
right.
So, well, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just explaining it to you. So, right. There's just like they don't want people, wearing Harris paraphernalia or whatever. Make America Great Again is Donald Trump's slogan. And so there's a rule against people, because what would happen is that candidates would, if you could wear anything that you wanted to at the polling place, candidates would empower supporters to wear clothing and paraphernalia to potentially attempt to influence other voters. That's the reason the rule exists.
Okay. Well, I was oblivious to that, and I guess just that means I'm uninformed, but it's kind of odd that when you drive into the voting area, there's all these signs that are telling you, hey, vote for this person or vote for that person.
Yes, sir. Those signs there's a 100-foot barrier.
Okay. Well, I did not know, but they let me vote. So
that's good. Well, it's good of them to let you vote. I mean, they worst case scenario, Rob, they would have told you that you had to turn your shirt inside out, which I think is a little bit over the top, because obviously you weren't campaigning for any particular candidate. But I mean, those rules are just there to prevent candidates or a candidacy from attempting to intimidate other voters at the polls.
Sure, and I get it. And that never would be my intention, but it was more so to voice, not even to voice it, but to show my support for who I think would be the best candidate for president.
Well, right. I mean, and so the entire and I get what you're saying. And look, I don't begrudge you wearing the shirt. I mean, I wear my paraphernalia all the time too, Rob, and I'm right there with you. But I mean, what you just said is specifically the reason why they don't want people wearing stuff like that at the polls.
Right, because I personally wouldn't have a problem if somebody wanted to wear something for the opposing side. Hey, more power to them. I thought this was America, and that's kind of covered under the free speech. But maybe
would you want somebody trying to talk to you about changing your vote while you're trying to vote? If we were standing next to each other and they wanted to have the conversation, sure, I would invite that. Okay. Well, some people don't care for that.
Yeah. I guess if you're on the wrong side of it, maybe you wouldn't agree to that, but I feel like, we're on the right side.
What about if you lived in Nashville and you were voting amongst a bunch of leftist socialist Democrats and they were demanding that you vote for a leftist socialist Democrat? You know what I mean? I get it. I don't think you're doing anything wrong, Rob, and I understand the concern. I'm not fussing with you or fighting with you about it. I understand why the rule exists. That they just want to stop it before it starts, because candidates will exploit the opportunity and they'll do whatever they can. I mean, and it's evidenced by the amount of signs that you see right at the 100-foot barrier. So I appreciate your call, Rob. Thank you so much for making it. It is 31 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
1:30 on the dot this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 5 minutes. And right now in Middle Tennessee, we've learned more details about that fatal crash in Murfreesboro yesterday. The teenagers involved are Blackman High School students. One of them, a 14-year-old who was a passenger in one of the cars, was killed. Right now in Tennessee, State Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti says a lawsuit has uncovered proof through documentation that thousands of illegal immigrants, including dangerous convicted criminals, were going to be released in Tennessee. But those plans were scrapped once Governor Lee and U.S. Senators Blackburn and Haggerty got involved, and then litigation by Tennessee and other states. Although ICE abandoned its failed plan for Tennessee, Skrmetti says the agency still released over 7,000 detainees from its Louisiana facilities at the time. And Attorney General Skrmetti says they had criminal records, including homicide, sexual assault, aggravated assault with a weapon, armed robbery, kidnapping, smuggling aliens, drug trafficking, burglary, and fraud. The CDC and McDonald's urgently working to understand E. coli cases coming from the company's burgers. 49 people have gotten sick. One person in Colorado has died. Here's Alex Stone.
McDonald's executives say during the last 2 weeks, as customers have reported getting sick after eating Quarter Pounders, the chain has sold about 1 million Quarter Pounders, and figuring out the source of E. coli in 49 of those in 10 states is tough to do. The company believes E. coli is coming in on slivered onions used on the Quarter Pounders, but it has not ruled out E. coli in McDonald's beef. Though executives say the Quarter Pounder beef is less likely, investigations are underway now to understand the source.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Savory Spice. Savory Spice is your one-stop shop for all things cooking in Nashville. They have one store in Nashville at L&L Market. The other is in Franklin, just off the square, next to Gray's Pharmacy. When you walk in, you'll smell the delicious smells of fall at Savory Spice. They got pumpkin pie spice available right now at Savory Spice. And I know that that's a dirty word for some, not for me, because I love me some pumpkin pie. And you couldn't have pumpkin pie without pumpkin pie spice. They have everything for the fall season. They still have items for the tailgate season. If you're watching football games on Friday nights or Saturday, you need something for the tailgate, something to spice up those burgers, those chops, whatnot. They've got it at Savory Spice just for you. Holly and David are great at what they do, and that is providing delicious spices that add deliciousness to your food. I like to say you up your food game by upping your spice game, and you up your spice game at the one and only Savory Spice. Once again, 2 locations, Franklin in the Square and in L&L Market in Nashville. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice. I'm a little bit triggered. 139, Super Talk 99.7 WT, and almost 139. Belle K was just screaming at me. And I don't appreciate it, Belle. There's only one person on this show that gets to do the screaming, and that's me.
I wasn't screaming on the show. I was screaming behind the scenes.
I didn't say you were I said you were screaming at me.
Right.
You were.
It's what they pay me to do.
Oh, that's true. You're the one. All right, so we have a very special guest in studio, and Cameron's here.
It's hurtful. It's hurtful.
Cameron Smith is joining us early on the Wednesday edition. Hello, Cameron Smith. How are you?
I'm great. Everything's going fine with football and things.
Oh, we'll talk about that later. Now that you brought it up, I'm
going to take my licks. It's fine.
I understand that there's a possibility of a backup quarterback. Just think on it. Just think on it until the 2 o'clock hour. I don't want to take up Wyatt Rumpy's time. And also, we're joined in studio by a political candidate for office here in Nashville, Tennessee. His name is Wyatt Rumpy, and I just had the opportunity to meet him. And if you've not heard about Wyatt, then you get the opportunity to meet him as well. Hello, Wyatt.
Howdy.
How are you?
I couldn't be better.
Tell us a little about yourself and why in the world you want to sully what I'm sure is a good reputation by going to the State House.
Oh, no, I'm anxious to do it. No, I grew up in Northern Virginia, came down here to go to Lipscomb in 1985, fell in love with the city. I was in Virginia because my extended family was there, and we moved to be close to them, and that was right outside Washington. And as a little kid, oddly enough, I like to watch the news. And so I watched the news. I was pretty well informed for a kid. And that politics, everything got in my blood. And I knew I wanted to serve one day. And so I married exactly the right woman. And one day she said, if you don't run, you're going to regret it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ran 2 years ago for the State House, had a good campaign, but we lost in the primary. But I knew I needed to try again.
So you mentioned the mid-'80s when you were involving yourself in politics at a young age. Was Ronald Reagan someone that you looked at? I mean, did you kind of gravitate toward the great communicator?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
It drew a lot of eyes. It drew me in.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Sure.
So tell us about your desire to become the next state senator from District Number 20.
Well, so it started, honestly, if I'm real about it, it started with, I want to do this. do I go back? And I want to serve the people of Nashville and Tennessee. And so we looked at, do we go back to the House district and try again? Or do we look at the Senate district? Well, it didn't take long looking at the Senate district to know this is where we need to serve, because it's not being served. Talked to a lot of people and got the buy-in and said, let's do this.
I mean, it's a tough lift in Nashville. I mean, Nashville's known as that little blue dot in a big red state, along with Memphis. It's really one of the only two. So what's the message when you get out and about to the people of Nashville, trying to kind of overcome? I feel like there may be an inherent bias amongst the citizens of Nashville that, well, our community goes blue. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, though.
It doesn't, for two reasons. Number one, we looked at the data, and the data for our district showed a strong leaning toward red. You look at the Alice Rowley race, you look at David Fox before her. Mm-hmm. You look, all of the data shows our district is pretty solid red. Not solid red, but comfortable red. And then you look at people are not stupid. And if you display to them the record of my opponent, Heidi Campbell, then the question is, there is no question. The choice is clear.
The last time I had an opportunity to speak with Heidi on air was the day that I didn't kick her out of the studio. I asked her politely to stop lying to the listeners, and she said that she would not sit here and be called a liar. And I said, well, then you can leave, because I'm going to call it like I see it. And this discussion was in relation to schools and school choice. Mm-hmm. Heidi Campbell is steadfastly against giving parents a better opportunity, a more robust opportunity to make decisions about where their children go to school and how their children learn. Tell me where Wyatt Rumpy is on this subject.
Exactly the opposite. So in full disclosure, my wife and I have been fortunate enough to put our kids in private school. We started in public school. Our son was in kindergarten. The school environment was great, but federal policies, whatever the school policies were causing the teachers to do everything to the test. Everything in kindergarten was about the test. And, our son was your typical kindergarten boy, full of energy and all of that, intelligent, happy. And we realized after a relatively short period of time, this kid was stressed out. He'd come home, again, kindergarten, he'd come home with homework that he was doing till 8 or 8:30 at night.
They're doing homework in kindergarten?
In kindergarten. And then we found out they weren't even able to have PE. These little kids were not getting to run off all the energy they've got, and that's just not right.
Sounds like a school system was worried about getting some federal money.
Exactly. It was all of the federal money. And so anyway, we had the ability to make a change, and we made that change. We stayed with it. We've got 4 kids. We put them all through private school, and there is no question I am fortunate to be able to do that. And I look and say there is no reason everybody shouldn't have that right, that ability to do it. And so when the governor put forward, I haven't seen the terms actual, but the concept that we can use our tax dollars to get our kids exactly the education that they need. So I've got 4 kids. It's hard to believe, you got the same 2 parents, but 4 distinct kids. One in particular just struggled to learn. We had to get her the learning that adapted to her, and that was our blessing.
Cameron, it occurs to me that you have 4 children, and they're all exactly the same.
They're clones, really.
They're just hellraisers.
Right. We lock them outside because it's safer.
I mean, you and I have talked about this quite a bit, and it seems like Wyatt's on the same page, is that you give every parent in Davidson County and in the surrounding communities all across the state of Tennessee the same opportunities that some who are blessed and fortunate have worked very hard to earn an income that provides them an opportunity to send their kids to private school. Some people don't have that opportunity.
And we shouldn't apologize for it.
No.
You know, it's not in full disclosure. I hear you, but that's what it's become. If you seek out opportunity for your kids, you're doing something wrong. And every kid should have opportunity. And let's be honest about Nashville, a lot of them don't.
Well, what I think is wrong, and not to put too fine a point on it, what's wrong would be a political candidate stepping into this studio and saying, I had the opportunity to send my kids to private school. I never once stepped in a public school myself. However, I'm going to deny a less fortunate or lower income earners in Davidson County and in my district the same opportunity that I had, and that is your opponent, Heidi Campbell. I mean, she was a privately educated. She sent her kids to private school, but she wants to deny certain people in the 20th district the same chance.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons that drove me to run.
What are some of the other reasons? Talk to us about, if you had to prioritize some of the biggest issues that you talk about in the 20th district as you walk through the state Senate district. What are they?
Well, I subscribe to the idea that you need three certain things for a society to function. You need to be able to hold a good job. You need to be able to educate your kids. And you need to be able to do it in a safe way. And so I look at all those issues and start breaking them down and all the different things that fall into those categories. Crime, education, and all of it starts, to me, with kids.
Yeah.
If I've got time for a quick story, my first job out of college was the great, sexy job of collecting on bad mobile home debt. People got behind on their payments. My job was to call and get the money out of them.
You met the best of society.
Oh, yeah.
That gig, boy.
That's awesome.
That's good.
So I'm a young kid.
You'll take a check? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm thinking about that old. What was that? You might be a redneck guy.
Jeff Foxworthy.
Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah, right.
He did the repo of the car. Anyway, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so young, sheltered Church of Christ boy, and I thought that I needed to be nice to people and cut them some slack. And my boss brought me into the office one day, and he said, hey, you're going and calling the debts that are 120 days late and on and on. He said, they're never going to pay you back. They're never going to catch up. You need to call them when they're 15 days late and work with them and convince them that they'd rather live in their mobile home than in their truck. And that was it. And that principle applies to everything, and especially here. I really, really care about kids. And you impact a child's future early on, you impact their whole life, and that changes society.
When we talk about State Senate District 20, what are we talking? We're talking about, I know Goodlettsville is there. I mean, where in the district do you live?
I live in Bellevue.
Okay.
And people laugh at me, but if you think of Nashville as a triangle, I call it a triangular donut. And so you come from the north of the airport, up north, over to the west to Joelton, come down to Bellevue, and over to Brentwood. So the core of the city and a little bit of East Nashville is...
And it's kind of like an off-kilter sea almost around the city of Nashville.
That's right.
So it would be a little more red. I mean, are you hopeful that the people of the district are ready for change, are ready for someone different than Heidi? I mean, and I would expect this school choice issue is on the lips of everyone you talk to.
School choice, the economy, crime, believe it or not, men and women's sports is a big deal to people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want it.
Do you believe boys should compete in female sports?
No.
See how easy that is?
That's pretty easy.
See, the conservatives...
Do me.
Do you believe boys should be able to compete in women's sports?
No.
See how that's so easy. Then you ask a Democrat and it gets real nuanced.
It depends on what the definition of a man is.
Right.
Okay, but here's what I believe. I believe that Nashville has common sense people.
I do too.
On both sides of the aisle. And I think they're saying the Democrat Party has taken it too far, and we've gone way beyond common sense. And enough is enough.
How are you at fighting people on Twitter? Because that's what Heidi Campbell does.
She's a keyboard warrior.
Are you into that? Because I'm not aware of things she actually does, I'm very aware of her fighting on social media.
Okay, I don't. I don't even get on Twitter.
That's the right answer.
Yeah. I don't have time for it. I want to have reason.
Wyatt, I wanted you to follow me.
Well, I didn't say I didn't follow you, but no, the fighting.
Here he is. He's right there. I see him.
The fighting is pointless.
What?
That fighting is pointless. I want to have reasonable, respectful conversations.
Priorities for let's say you are blessed with getting elected as the next sitting state senator for District 20. What would your personal priorities? Let's set school choice aside for a moment. Personal priorities as a freshman in the state senate.
Mm-hmm. The mechanics are yet to be determined, but I have talked to a lot of members of the police, Metro Police, got the FOP endorsement. They're concerned about obviously the attitude toward the police, and it's affecting recruitment. We've got to overcome that. The numbers I'm hearing are that our police is supposed to be about 1,650, and we're 165 short, so 10% short. But I've had officers tell me, look, Memphis is a smaller city with 2,100 police officers. So we're actually way understaffed as a city. And I know that because I've had to advise my kids, you have a fender bender, don't even call the cops just because they're not going to show up.
Well, I wish you the best. It's a great introductory meeting. I'd love to talk again, maybe even before Election Day, and hopefully we're able to welcome you as the newly elected senator from District Number 20.
I'd sure like that. Nashville is a great city the future is so bright for our city, and it just needs somebody that's reasonable and focused to be that bridge between the city and the state.
Where can people find out more about Wyatt Rumpy?
WyattRumpy.com.
It's just like you spell it like it sounds.
Just that simple. WyattRumpy.com.
We already established that Rumpy. I asked him. Everybody out there listening, Rumpy is of German origin, right?
Yep.
Well, there you go. And what's Smith?
No one knows. Nope.
Wyatt, thank you for the time.
Hey, thank you.
There's Wyatt Rumpy. We'll be back with the aforementioned Mr. Smith coming up in just a moment. It's 54 after the hour on Super Talk.
2 o'clock on the dot this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Right now, we got a big traffic problem east of Nashville going eastbound on 40. There is a crash involving several vehicles. It's right after Stewart's Ferry Pike, and it is backed up all the way to Briley Parkway. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, we've learned more details about a fatal crash in Murfreesboro yesterday. The teenagers involved are Blackman High School students. One of them, a 14-year-old, was killed when the car driven by a 16-year-old collided with a vehicle turning left onto Veterans Parkway. The driver of that car and the two other teenagers in the car driven by the 16-year-old were injured but will survive. They're returning to Blackman High School after attending a state volleyball tournament at Rockville High School. Police right now trying to determine the cause of that crash, including speeds and other possible factors. By the way, the driver of the other car involved was a 47-year-old man. Right now in Tennessee, Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti says a lawsuit has uncovered proof that ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, was going to release thousands of illegal immigrants with criminal records in Tennessee. A news release has documents attached claiming to show coordination between ICE, Nashville city officials, and a Tennessee nonprofit immigration organization to arrange for the mass release of detainees held at an ICE facility in Louisiana who had criminal records like murder, rape, and kidnapping. The news release claims ICE wanted to send 7,000 illegal immigrants housed in that facility to Tennessee, but Governor Lee and U.S. Senators Blackburn and Hagerty and litigation by Skrmetti's office and other states stopped it, but ICE released them elsewhere. Election 2024 right now, former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly claiming in a New York Times article that former President Trump spoke highly of Adolf Hitler. Vice President Kamala Harris called the media to her home in Washington, D.C.
Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions.
Now, the Trump campaign's responding, saying Kelly has beclowned himself and the story is a fabrication. And here in Tennessee, Metro Police say they don't know what the suspect in an attack on a woman in front of a community center looks like, just that he was wearing a sweatshirt and has a mustache. This woman tells Channel 4 she saw the aftermath.
There were what appeared to be an EMT and two police officers helping a woman walk from the parking lot back toward the east end of the building. I think it's definitely it puts me on edge. Someone who assaulted a woman in a community park where there are a ton of residents, a ton of people who could be at risk.
Yeah, it happened in front of the East Park Community Center when police say the woman who was sleeping on a bench was asked by a man for a lighter, and when she said no, he attacked her and tried to sexually assault her. She had to go to the hospital with wounds to her face. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Love talking about Dr. Gill because I'm not only a spokesperson for the Dr. Gill Center, I am also a client. Are you tired of living in pain? I was tired of having to worry about my back. I was tired about worrying about my back when it came to my performance on the golf course or on the pickleball court or wherever it might be. Take it from me. If you have pain in your back, if you have pain in your neck, if you have pain along your spinal column or in your joints, your knees, your elbows, they can help you. What if your pain was gone? Imagine the freedom of that, the possibilities. At the Dr. Gill Center, they have helped literally thousands of people just like you, just like me, get out of pain over the last 30 years, and they can help you too. A telephone call will begin that process. They'll schedule you for an appointment, or you can go online at callmepainfree.com, callmepainfree.com. Choose the Dr. Gill Center. I know you'll be happy that you did. They have solutions to help you get out of pain and stay out of pain without having to pop pills and without having to shoot needles, which is why we say don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill. 615-882-4838, 882-4838. Hello, friends. Welcome back. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. No, you just took a dump on the mirror. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, Belkay. I need somebody to yell at. I feel so good about the election. I can't yell about that. Where are you going? He's leaving. Where are you going?
You made him mad.
I did. Bell's. Uh-oh. Here we go. I'm in. Oh, wait. Hold on. No, Bell sent the janitor in here for some reason. There's the janitor, everybody. Melvin, I think his name is. 7 minutes after the hour, final hour of the Matt Murphy Show on this Wednesday edition. Cameron Smith with us. He was here early for our visit with Wyatt Rumpy. I like that guy. Seems like a nice guy. He does not seem like a politician, which I love when non-political people involve themselves and feel called to public service. That's what it's supposed to be all about.
Yeah, and folks in that district, they don't have anything to lose by supporting a Republican. They might actually have something to gain in the sense of somebody that could actually advance legislation. Campbell's not that. Campbell's somebody who wants to run for other jobs as opposed to that job, and she thinks that job is getting on X and tweeting at Republicans.
Hey, was it me, or did that guy look a lot like Harold Ramis from Ghostbusters?
The guy that just walked in here? Yeah. Oh, no, the guy that fixed the cameras, or the guy that was just in here?
Wyatt. He looks like Harold Ramis from Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
I can see it.
I can see that. Hair a little grayer, but, you know. But
Harold in his later years.
Yeah, got a little gray as time went on. Sure, I can see that. Yeah, Wyatt Rumpy. You can go to WyattRumpy.com to find out more information about him. I'm putting you on the spot.
It's fair.
Are you willing to tell the story that you just told me about Heidi?
Oh, sure.
So, folks know my past history with Heidi. And I'm like, I don't have anything personally against Heidi. Whatever. You know, she can come back in anytime she wants. And Cameron, this is off air. Cameron goes, I do. And I'm like, what? What's your interaction? Tell people the story.
This was a big deal to me. I was at, I believe it was David Lipscomb for a congressional debate, and I was the moderator. And so the Democratic candidates are up there, and they're talking about all their different things. And I get done, and I'm shaking the hands of everybody. And
you have been your normal, respectful self, I'm certain.
I'm trying to be a moderator, right? I'm asking tough questions, but, I mean, I'm not in my opinion columnist mode. And I get to Heidi Campbell, and she says, "You will address me as senator." And I thought
you were just like thanking her for being there, like thanks Heidi for being here.
Yes, at the end, and evidently somewhere in when I was asking a question, I had said, I think Mrs. Campbell or Miss Campbell. It was a slip, right? And she tagged me afterwards, and I'm like, if that's the most important thing to you, that a moderator who you've never met before,
you called her Ms. Campbell.
It reminded me of The Office. That it's like, you know, the senator. You mean state senator, not no senator. Like that kind of like, I'm just doing this to say, I just want you to respect me. And you know why I respect members of Congress, state senators, House members? Because they're great people, not because they have a title, and certainly not when they do that. And so that really set the tone negative for me. And then I've just watched her over the years run for other jobs like higher office, Congress, anything but the job she has. And the job she has, she thinks, is being on social media and fighting with conservatives. That's what she thinks.
But she leans on, and this is what typically Democrats, it's been my experience, have done in Alabama for quite some time, and now I experienced the same thing in Tennessee. Well, there's nothing we can get done because the Republican majority. But if we were in control, we would do these awesome things.
Fine, and vote for Republicans.
Right.
Like, you can't do anything but tweet. Like, sweet, let's vote for a Republican. And look, Wyatt or somebody else in that seat may be a more middle-of-the-road Republican. That's fine. Republicans have got to get over that. Like, not everybody's dyed in the wool, but I think in the age of Trump, that's a lot easier to do, to say, hey, I'm different, but I'm still Republican. I'll still work with you where we agree. Like, let's do it.
By the way, a lot of you are asking a lot of questions of Cameron Smith right now on the super text line, and I appreciate you, and I see them, and I'm going to ask every single one of these questions of Cameron. Most of them have to do with football.
Yeah, this is fair.
You get that.
I do.
You know where you live. So, none of this would have happened if y'all had just lost to us. You know that, right?
Yep.
If you would have just taken your whooping, let the comeback happen, then you recoalesce.
It's a transition year at that point.
No, it's not a transition. Then you're all you do what we did. You get all mad and pissed off and mad at the world, and everybody doubts you, and then you beat Vandy, and then you beat Tennessee.
But no,
you had to have that Georgia win. So fine, enjoy it.
It's the worst.
Enjoy that Music City Bowl or wherever the heck you.
So this happens to me now because I coach youth football, the Nolensville Stars, with huge Tennessee Vols fans. And so they literally, after practice last night, they have a giant donut that's the size of a cake, and it's covered in that hideous orange. Oh, yeah. And it says, "Oops, we did it again." And
did you eat any of it?
Oh, my kid did. Hey, was over there like donut did. And the boys loved it. But like,
are all of your kids Bama?
Oh yeah. Oddly, Bama. And then some of them are Eagles fans because Justine's family is from Pennsylvania, and there's so many Alabama players on that squad. And Georgia.
I'm surprised one of them didn't veer off the reservation, given that they're growing up in the state of Tennessee.
Have you seen that orange?
I mean, I get it.
And Vandy, Vandy's a good school.
It's like that pumpkin inside of a pumpkin orange.
We all at some point will probably work for somebody from Vandy. That's the case. But man, it's tough. But I'll take my lumps. It's okay.
No, you're going to get them. I mean, they're coming in fast and furious. 5814 is mad at me because 5814 wrote in at 1:47 this afternoon saying, please ask Wyatt why I don't deserve school vouchers because I make more than $150,000 a year. I did not see your question, 5814, but 5814 some 6 minutes later wrote another text saying, you refused to ask the question, seems a little biased. No, I didn't see the question. I'm happy to ask any question that you have about these matters, but there obviously is a cap on school vouchers at $150,000 a year. Would you venture a guess as to why that is?
It's because they think they can't get the votes. That's all the modifications this last go-round we're vote getting.
Right. Because if you open it up to those that are the richest among us, you're going to lose votes.
You're giving handouts to the wealthy.
Right. I mean, and the idea, whether it is fair or not, whether you like it or not, the idea is if you make a certain level of income, the feeling is that you can handle those educational decisions on your own, absent any interference from the government or any control of the government. So, I mean, that's just is what it is. Are you feeling, you're a Republican.
Yes, sir.
You're a conservative.
Yes, sir.
You have also been on record as, not being really, did you ever call yourself an ever-Trumper at any point?
No.
But you just didn't like it?
No, I didn't like it.
Didn't feel it?
Mm-mm. Well, because he's not a conventional conservative. Like, we've talked about that. Like, and I'm a conservative dork who cares about policies and principles and all that stuff. And what I probably didn't appreciate, and I owe it to the listeners to be honest and own up to it. And I wrote a column about this, is if I'm in a position where I can worry about principles and democratic norms, then I'm in really good shape. 75% of America lives paycheck to paycheck. And to say, well, tariffs are bad policy because they increase the cost on working families. Like, it's easy to say that, but to the guy who's worried about his job moving to a plant in Mexico, he doesn't care about my principles. And when I say, well, Donald Trump's character is an affront to democratic norms, well, the family who's struggling to put food on the table doesn't care.
They care about egg prices.
If I can tell you how the ideas that I have matter to you and to your family where you are, I got a good argument. But just to say, well, these things disqualify this candidate, I'm a pointy-headed weirdo and I need to stop.
By that measure, you said most Americans have little patience for people pondering principles.
Yep.
It's a lot of alliteration.
It is, intentionally.
Anxious authors placed in powerful post. AL.com, by the way, if you want to read this article. So are you enthusiastic about the next 2 weeks? And are you enthusiastic, not necessarily about the personality that is Trump, but the governance that Trump would represent in terms of getting us back to saner fiscal policy? I won't say sane because everything's insane in Washington, D.C., but doing the things to let business do the things that business does to get us back on the right track economically.
So not excited, but then I look at somebody like David French, who said, well, here's how I save this thing, is I vote for Harris. I don't see how anybody could look at Harris in any way, and like Eric Erickson is this way. There's like a bunch of folks that just have kind of come to the same place. That's like the idea that Kamala Harris is what's good for America and will somehow lead us to a bright future is just false. There's no justification for that. She can't even string sentences together, and that was the problem with the first guy.
Erickson's not voting for Harris, right?
No, he's not.
Right. So this is what I've said, that I can understand because I know enough of these people. I can understand and I can accept. I might argue with you, and you and I have done it.
Yep.
We might argue with one another and at one another or whatever. But I can understand why you would come to the conclusion that, guys, I can't vote for Donald Trump.
Sure.
That's fine. But to go the next step, like Liz Cheney has done and some other Republicans, and say you're voting for Kamala, well, you're not being a conservative. You're being an a-hole.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think here's the deal. If you want to tell me January 6th was disqualifying or all the other things or random comments or Arnold Palmer's junk is disqualifying, like whatever, you can do that. But if you never look over to the other side and say, you know, everything's cool. Nothing that the Biden-Harris administration has done is disqualifying. None of the like overt pandering to black men, for example, is disqualifying. Well, she is in the vein of a normal politician. Well, Trump's clearly not. I get that. But you're telling me that this person, who might as well be like an Etch-a-Sketch candidate, is what's best for America and will address the issues that face everyday Americans. And if you want the answer to be government stuff, Harris is your candidate. If you want it to be something else, Trump's the only other option.
I know where we are in this election cycle when I see where the Democrats are in their final narrative and their final talking point. You would have to prove it to me to convince me that it was not a coordinated effort, that John Kelly writes an op-ed in the New York Times. There's an opinion piece in the New York Times, including John Kelly. I don't know if he wrote it or not, where he says that Trump is a fascist. I still don't understand, and I genuinely mean this, Cameron, and maybe you have an answer, maybe you don't. What they say, well, Trump meets the definition of a fascist. How? I don't.
Trump meets the definition of a narcissist.
Sure.
And he says all kind of outlandish stuff because he likes people talking about him. But this idea that they're going to be like, guess what this guy said? At this point, if you're shocked by anything he says, like, what are we doing?
I said it earlier, and I think you'll appreciate this, that after all of this time, we're back to Billy Bush, and he grabbed her by the bleep, right? Because they're just calling him Hitler. And they're saying, oh, he said effing Mexican at an anonymous source. Why in the world would you not put your name on that? If you heard it, there is no danger in doing that. You would be a darling of most of the mainstream media. They would love you in Washington, D.C. if you would put your name saying, I heard him say bleeping Mexican at a funeral of this person. But it's anonymous. At this stage, it's anonymous. Why is it anonymous?
But my point is, like, I can imagine Trump saying a lot of completely inappropriate things because he does that. Okay. But, is there going to be a magic thing that he says that now I can't vote for him? Or, I mean, what is it?
I mean, they thought, it was 8 years ago that they thought this Billy Bush tape was the end of him.
But you don't get it.
I guess I
Democracy dies in darkness and other hashtags. Like, come on. If the standard is rhetoric, well, guess what? Then the Democrats should absolutely, because they have really nice rhetoric, except for the times they don't. But it's
except for the candidate that they decided was going to be on the ballot.
Right.
I mean, they had one guy that couldn't manage it. There was a time when he was okay at it. He's not okay at it anymore. He was so bad at it, they had to replace him by a person or with a person that is even worse. I am starting to believe, and maybe it's just because I feel confident as to what's going to happen in 2 weeks, I'm starting to believe the conspiracy theory that was floated soon after they dispatched of him and seized on her, that if she hits a home run magically, if she somehow connects with the ball and gets a hole-in-one, great. Otherwise, at least we've gotten rid of her for 2028.
Yeah.
And there was that suggestion immediately after they picked her because she's just that bad. I mean, and it is true. Cameron, regardless of your politics, regardless of where you are ideologically, she's just really bad at this.
Yeah, you can say Trump's a jerk, but she looks like she's brain dead. Like, and I mean that, and I hate, I don't like the name calling and stuff, but when she speaks, I get dumber. And I watch this rambling, nervous, and I'm like, you want that to lead the most powerful country in the world?
Listen to, this was a sit down with a friendly. Yesterday she took the day off after calling Trump exhausted for the last 3 days.
Right.
She took the day off with 14 days to go in the presidential election. But she did do 2 pre-recorded sit downs, and one of them was with NBC. Now, by now, one would think that she would expect at least 2 questions. One, what, if anything, would you do differently over the last 3.5 years? Were you president of the United States during that time? That seems a perfectly reasonable. If you're talking about turning the page, that's a perfectly reasonable question. She doesn't have an answer for it. The other is basically, why are you here? Right?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Why are we talking to you and not Joe Biden? When did that happen and how did that happen? Here's the answer.
Can you say that you were honest with the American people about what you saw in those moments with President Biden as you were with him again and again, repeatedly in that time?
Of course. Joe Biden is an extremely accomplished, experienced, and capable in every way that anyone would want if they're president.
And you never saw anything like what happened at the debate night behind closed doors with him?
It was a bad debate. People have bad debates. He is absolutely...
But that's the reason why you're here, and he's not running for the top of the ticket.
Well, you'd have to ask him if that's the only reason why.
What do you think?
I am running for president of the United States. Joe Biden is not. And my presidency will be about bringing a new generation of leadership to America that is focused on the work that we need to do to invest in the ambitions and aspirations of the American people.
It's a judgment question. That's why I ask. Can the American people trust you in these moments, even when it's maybe uncomfortable for Americans to level with Americans in that way? So that's why I ask. And it sounds like what you're saying is you feel like you never saw anything like that from President Biden.
I have worked with Joe Biden, hours and hours and hours over these 4 years, whether it be in the Situation Room or the Oval Office.
Hours.
Joe Biden is the one who was able to bring NATO together during a crisis where, for the first time in 70 years, Europe saw and has seen war. Joe Biden has done the work that has been about being a leader on what we have done to fix so much of what has been broken in terms of the economy because of Donald Trump's mismanagement. I speak with not only sincerity, but with a real firsthand account of watching him do this work. I have no reluctance in saying that. No.
So then why is she the candidate?
Dude, this is like my kids trying to wing it when they didn't read the homework assignment. I'm like, well, there are some words in a book that mean some things, and I know some stuff that I read. I mean, it's that level of like, what are we doing?
Well, you have to understand the moment in time that we experience and the clarity that we have to have moving forward and not making the mistakes of the past,
Yes.
but benefiting from the hindsight of the future.
It's that all the time. And I respect a good political pivot. When you get asked a tough question, answer the one you want to answer. That's what they tell every politician, right? Don't fall on their sword over a bad question. She just says things that make no sense.
26 after the hour. It makes no sense why I'm so late, but I am, and I apologize for that. I'm going to blame Cameron Smith. So Ken Weaver back there in the newsroom, anxiously anticipating another newscast. It's not my bad. It's Cameron's bad. Forget that my name's on the door. It's the Matt Murphy Show. Can I just calm everybody down? Big voice guy there said that it's temporary. It's a temporary 86 of the Quarter Pounder. Y'all calm down. Quarter Pounder is considered to be the only good thing at McDonald's for those of you that go to McDonald's. Anyway, but it's a temporary 86, big voice guy. Let's talk about you and your health. Men, I want to particularly talk to you, but ladies, if you're listening and you've noticed some of these symptoms in your guy, maybe you can encourage him to get over to the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Now, it's not just about intimacy and your romantic relationship, but oftentimes a lowered T level manifests itself in that way. Sometimes it can just be a lack of desire to go to the gym, a lack of desire to get work done around the house, a lack of desire to go play with the kids or whatever. If you've reached that age where you think, well, this is just the way that it is, it doesn't have to be that way, especially if it's happening in the bedroom. And men, I'm not here to get up in your business, but I am here to tell you this. If you've had issues, you can solve those issues right now, jiffy quick, with a call to Tennessee Men's Clinic. Schedule an appointment today. Go online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com to find out more. They have two locations. One's in Franklin, the other in Midtown. They've been here for over 10 years, and they are your premier experts in men's health. Their qualified urologists want to talk with you. Here's the number, 615-208-9090, 208-9090, Tennessee Men's Clinic. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Brentwood Hearing Center. Allow me a moment to tell you about my great friends at Brentwood Hearing Center because they've got a great brand new technology that I'm excited to tell you about. It is the Phonak Sphere. The team of audiologists at Brentwood Hearing Center are committed to providing patients with the most recent hearing developments and technologies, and that's where the Phonak Sphere comes in. So many of you that have had hearing loss or have hearing loss, you say, well, you avoid situations where there's a lot of conversations going on because it's difficult to hear and it makes it impossible to have a conversation or communicate. With a computer chip dedicated to addressing speech and noise, the Phonak Sphere will help you when you're at a dinner party at a noisy restaurant or visiting friends or family at a cocktail party or at a sporting event like a football game. If you're having difficulty hearing conversation where there's noise in the background, you need to talk to the doctors of audiology at Brentwood Hearing Center about the Phonak Sphere. You'll be happy you did. Go find out more online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com or give them a call at 615-377-0420, 377-0420. It's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing for a better life.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Checking traffic now to see if they've done anything to improve the situation east of Nashville, 40 eastbound. You still have 2 right lanes blocked by a crash just after Stewart's Ferry Pike. It's backed up to beyond Briley Parkway. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Gunshots at the Trump rally. Some of the first audio of 911 calls from the Butler, Pennsylvania Trump assassination attempt published by NBC. The first call coming in at 6:12 p.m. local time.
Gunshots at the Trump rally.
Yep.
Gunshots.
The police are on the way.
Well, you better get over here quick.
That's just one of many flooding the Butler, Pennsylvania 911 center. The recordings received by local emergency dispatchers shortly after the shooting disclosed today by Butler County as part of a legal settlement with NBC News and 2 other news organizations. U.S. officials say they're monitoring the movements of North Korean troops into Russia who are undergoing training. White House National Security Advisor John Kirby.
If they do deploy to fight against Ukraine, they're fair game. They're fair targets. And the Ukrainian military will defend themselves against North Korean soldiers the same way they're defending themselves against Russian soldiers.
U.S. also says a new round of sanctions will be announced for those who help Russia fight against Ukraine. Here in Tennessee, Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti says Immigration and Customs Enforcement has released documents proving the agency planned to release thousands of illegal immigrants into Tennessee from their holding facility in Louisiana. The document's part of the news release, claiming to show this was coordinated by ICE, Nashville city officials, and a Tennessee nonprofit for immigrants. Furthermore, the documents claim to show these 7,000 illegal immigrants have criminal records for murder, rape, and kidnapping. Skrmetti claims the illegal immigrants were released, just not in Tennessee, due to pushback from Governor Lee, U.S. Senators Blackburn and Hagerty, and litigation. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Friends, it's time to do something besides voting to take our country back, and I've got an idea for you. If you have a credit card, do you know where the credit card is spending your money? You know, your interest rate money? Are they spending it on woke liberal causes? Maybe. The number one question that I get, how can I get into the conservative fight? How can I do more? Well, one of the things that you can potentially do is stop funneling money to the left through your credit card company. Now you have a choice. If you would like a credit card and would like to know that that credit card is doing conservative things, Coin is your answer. You earn cash back and you fight the liberal agenda. You can apply now at coin.com. That's COIGN.com. COIGN.com. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to coin.com. I love all of the people that I talk about on the Matt Murphy radio show on Super Talk equally, but I absolutely adore what Men of Valor does for our community on so many different levels. I mean, one, they minister to men in crisis, and those men, more often than not, are in our prison system. Did you know, this statistic is astounding to me, that 90% of the men that are currently in prison are going to get out? I don't think we think about it that way, but they're going to get out. What type of men do you want leaving that confinement, leaving their punishment? Do you want men of discipline? Do you want men that want to be productive members of society? Or do you want men that are going to become recidivists, that are going to commit crimes again? Sadly, 50% of the men that get out of prison return to prison within 3 years. But Men of Valor, they drop that number to less than 10%. You heard that correctly. Why? Because they minister. They act as job partners. They act as Bible study teachers. They act as mentors. They disciple men in their place where they are, and they help them become productive members of society. And by extension, they save us a tremendous amount of money as a society. Will you give either your time or your donation today? Go to movministry.com. That's movministry.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Men of Valor. Prior to coming back from the commercial advertisement break, I was having a very in-depth conversation with Cameron Smith about the failures of the Alabama Crimson Tide this season. Many of you on the membersnutrition.com super text line are asking for Cameron's opinion about where you are this season. It feels like that Alabama no longer has the greatest college football coach in history on their sidelines.
It does. It feels that way.
It feels that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'm most concerned about Alabama turning into is Georgia under Mark Richt. Like, the curse of Mark is it's, hey, good guy. We love the guy. Good guy.
Loves his players.
Yeah, 9-10 win guy. He got it. Doesn't win the big game.
Show me somebody else who's going to give you 10 wins.
Right.
That's what they always said about Mark Richt.
Right. And
it was infuriating.
It's too early, but I don't want Alabama fans to start acting like Tennessee fans and then like tear down the uprights when two ranked teams go against each other and one wins. Like, that's kind of weird. So I don't want to get to that point where winning is so much of a stretch for me that I have to celebrate because it may not happen again.
Y'all see what he did there.
Yeah.
I see what he did there.
It's very subtle.
He subtly went after Georgia and Tennessee in the same breath.
If you're going to do it well. And
but I forgive him. I mean, I said what I said the night of the event, right? I was high off the Texas win and Georgia beating the Longhorns. And then I watched that and I'm thinking, why are y'all rushing the field? You beat them just two years ago. But it was almost half-hearted.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was freshmen going, me
too.
Yeah, we want to do this too. It doesn't really make any sense, but we're going to do it too.
I think Tennessee loses again. And I think Vanderbilt is still one of the most underrated teams. And I think if Tennessee's not careful, they're going to lose to Vanderbilt.
Let me tell you, Vanderbilt's a great story.
It is.
I mean, and I know that it smarts for you.
It does.
Based on, the intimate nature of the experience with Vanderbilt being
But they beat us. They didn't.
It wasn't fluky.
It wasn't just a fluke where we did a bunch of bad. They beat us.
It was like you saw the game plan play out before your very eyes. It was obvious that Coach Lee said, hey, we have to keep the ball out of their offensive hands in order to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to grind this thing out. We're going to limit possessions. And if we do that, and I know that the score was 40-35, but like if we do that,
we can win the game.
We can win the game.
And they did. And that was really incredible. And I think that it's kind of like election season too, like bringing it back to what we've been talking about, that everybody, what's the Mike Tyson quote? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And Harris was like, well, they just coronated me. This is great. I'm joy. And then all of a sudden it was reality. Like, I don't think you're that great. Like, yeah, he's a weirdo, but you're terrible. And
you seem very angry at Jalen Milroe.
Well, when you're a dual threat quarterback that runs 14 times for 11 yards, you're just sort of a half a threat.
Here's the frustration that I think you're experiencing. And I mean this as no disrespect to the Tennessee Volunteers and Nico Ilimaliava.
Sounds good.
I think I did that right. Jalen Milroe and Nico looked kind of the same during that game.
Yeah.
Nico's a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
A red shirt.
Yeah, and guess what? Hopefully in 3 years he's not playing the same way.
And Jalen Milroe's not. And there seemed to be regression there.
Yeah, and Alabama has lost more excellent quarterbacks just transferring than most teams can recruit. So it's not like there's a problem here of other excellent capacity there. Mm-hmm. And look, I get it. Richt, Sarkisian, a lot of the coaches that went to these big programs, first year was rough. Within 3 years, they really got it together.
Mm-hmm.
So DeBoer gets some time, but
no, he does. Obviously, nobody's talking about coach replacement. Some are, but those folks are just
hats off to the Tennessee sweep, though. Let's give credit where it's due. That hadn't happened in ever.
1984, I think.
Yeah, long time.
Yes, Bill.
We have had an inordinate number of requests on the super text line to play Rocky Top. And I just want to let people know that the official college football team of the Matt Murphy Show is the Georgia Bulldogs.
That's correct.
So unless I am directly told by the host of the show to play Rocky Top, there will be no Rocky Top played.
I'm angry at Volunteers people because it's a perfectly good song. I like old school country music.
The new one, the weird one.
The weird one? There's a weird one?
The new Rocky Top version.
Is there a new one?
Yeah, it's like a lot slower.
I don't know. I just remember the old school one, and it's a perfectly good old school country song, and you guys have ruined it. Much like the Alabama Crimson Tide have ruined multiple songs.
Yes.
Sweet Caroline, perfectly acceptable song until you people ruined it.
Dixieland Delight.
Dixieland Delight is not even about Alabama.
That's true.
It's about Tennessee.
Yep.
And you dunderheads, because the group is called Alabama, think it's about y'all.
Yep. What is your question? Tell me more. You guys, this is why this is why I can survive the politics, because the amount of comments we're getting on here is I know crazy. What people care about. They're like, how dare he say that? How dare he talk about our prison orange like that? And I love that, because that tells me you're a great American, because you care about the stuff that's in front of you, your community, your team. I love that. Mm-hmm. I hate this isolationist stuff where we're all on social media all the time and we're getting all upset because so-and-so said this, or, Arnold Palmer's well endowed. That to me was by far the weirdest thing I've seen, that people got upset about that. It was like, well, I guess that disqualifies him from office. Why?
You got to give the guy credit. He says what comes to his mind. And I guess that was on his mind at that moment.
So I can't wait for an authentic politician that is not maybe as cavalier as Trump and all over the place.
Crude.
Yeah, but he's real. He may be really awful, but he's real. And when you look at Harris, she can't decide what she wants to be. She doesn't know. She's turning the page. It's the same page. There's only one page.
No, it's so obvious that she's phoning.
Yes.
It's so obvious that every time she's asked a question, even in a friendly environment, she calculates how you can see it. You see her trying to figure out how she's supposed to answer.
What do I need to say to get elected?
Right.
Trump says what's on his mind, and maybe he gets elected. But she, and frankly, Biden was just uniquely old and dilapidated. But Harris is just, okay, tell me what to say to get elected. I'll say or do anything.
Based on how much this feels like 2016 all over again, does it not for you illustrate what an outlier 2020 was and how COVID so impacted that election process?
Yeah, and how uniquely bad Harris is, and Biden. Sure. Biden got to, the first time Biden got the benefit of his prior record and all that stuff because he'd been around for a long time.
And they had the excuse they didn't need to put him out front because of COVID.
Yeah, let's be honest. Joe Biden was the safe, normal vote. It's like, okay, whatever. He's just a rank and file Democrat, fine. She's not. She's wild. And the idea that Walz would be and then he comes across as super phony. Come on.
And she just won't be what she is. And because she knows what she is will not get her elected president of the United States. You can't run around Pennsylvania talking about you're going to ban fracking.
Right. And I've said that we have lurched left. That's a fact. And Donald Trump is running a 90s Democrat campaign. And guess what? That's super popular.
The new Republicans are the old Democrats. The new Democrats are the old socialists, and there aren't any conservatives anymore.
The Democrats aren't even just like the socialists I get, but like it's just really strange.
Well, they because it's such an identity block voting mentality that they have laser focused at like this issue on men playing women's sports.
Right.
And we illustrated with Wyatt Rumpy and Cameron Smith. Do you think men should play women's sports? No. Do you think men should play women's sports? No. Democrats can't answer that because they're so petrified of a voting bloc that is such a minuscule minority. They've allowed that minuscule minority to control public policy in a way that most Americans are going, what are you talking about, Mike? I want my little girl to be able to play volleyball without getting destroyed by some dude on the other side.
Right. And Barack Obama is getting out there and saying, well, really, black folk, you need to vote for her because history. Well, that's offensive to a lot of black people who are just saying, well, we don't like her. We don't like we don't know what she stands for because she doesn't even know. And we're not sure that y'all have delivered the goods for us.
How close are they? And maybe it doesn't happen this election cycle, but I feel like they're very, very close to saying you have to vote for her because she's black and you're black.
If they thought they could do that without further alienating.
I mean, I feel like that's what they're saying.
If I'm a Republican right now and looking at this election cycle, I'm saying, okay, Trump, win or lose, whatever. But man, there are groups in play that have not been in play in a long time. And you can say, what Trump said, what do you got to lose by trying what we have to offer as opposed to those people who just assume you're going to vote with them? They don't care. They just give you the same thing and say you owe us.
And the number of clips that I've seen in the past month where black men are saying, you know, you don't come around my neighborhood when it's not an election year.
Right.
You don't speak to me. I mean, or you I mean, literally and figuratively, you don't speak to me and my needs until it's time where you say, oh, by the way, I expect you to vote for me. And they say it in so many ways that I recognize they're kind of, I call it the Democrat plantation, the political Democrat plantation. And they're breaking out of the Democrat plantation and they're recognizing that, you know, Republican policies might not be all that bad.
When you tell men they're toxic, that being a manly guy is toxic and you must not be that, a lot of men of all races start saying, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Like, the only way I can be a man in your world, in your culture, is to basically keep my head down, just sit on my hands, not move, and hope that nothing bad happens. No.
Troll of the day, and this is saying something because we have a lot of trolls on the super text line. Troll of the day comes from 01202, who says 100% Kamala Harris is an Alabama fan and Tim Walz is a Georgia fan.
That's hurtful. It's
unnecessary.
That is slander.
It's unnecessary. That's no doubt a Tennessee fan that is already dispatched of Alabama that has Georgia on the horizon. Why would you do that? I don't understand.
Did they spell Walz W-A-L-T-Z?
No, I guess they're not a Tennessee fan. They spelled it right.
Yeah.
It's the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. thanks to Wyatt. What was Wyatt's last name? Rumpy. How did I forget that? Thanks to Wyatt Rumpy for stopping by. Thanks to David Kustoff for stopping by. Thanks to Cameron Smith for being here. And thank you to Brian Wilson for being here, ready and accounted for his 3 o'clock appointment with you for the next 4 hours. Hello, Brian Wilson.
Hey, how's it going? Everything good?
Everything's great. How about you?
I heard we've sold out all the VIP tickets.
How about that? I am taking all full credit for that because
no, you can't, because I threw down a big gauntlet yesterday.
What'd you do?
Cannot take credit for that, because I said at well, let's just ask Dave when the big surge was, because it should have happened about 4:30 yesterday.
I think my Trump shoes shot us over the top. Brian Wilson says it was him. I think Mandis is. Everybody's trying to take care of it. But here's the great thing: our listeners are so awesome, and we're sold out. How about that?
That's right. That's what it's all about. Bragging rights aside, that's what it's really all about.
It should be a fun time with everything that we're looking at. I expect a big time party. I hope.
Yep, I think so. I don't know that we're going to have the answer that night, but I think we're going to get a good sense of it, no doubt, when the East Coast states of Georgia and Pennsylvania and the East Coast as well. I think when those start to come in, we'll know how things are looking. And I'll tell you, I think Democrats are growing really desperate. I think today we saw the Democrats' October surprise.
The Hitler thing,
it's weak sauce is what it is. And I'm gonna disassemble that reporting that everybody is gonna be buzzing about, and it's gonna be on all the major networks tonight. And Kamala Harris has been out there, feeding the frenzy. But when you really dig down into what was going on there, it ain't all that and a bag of chips. I'll tell you that for sure.
Well, Brian Wilson is up next right after Ken Weaver's newscast, and Ken Weaver's coming up right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Enjoy the drive this afternoon for all of our guests today. This is Matt Murphy speaking and saying have a great afternoon, folks. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.